Ah. That is the Duomo seen from the Belvedere. You know Florence?
All that detail just from memory, sir?
Memory, Agent Starling, is what I have instead of a view.
Well, perhaps you'd care to lend us your view on this questionnaire, sir.
Oh, no.
This is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're going to be typing Jodie Foster. Shelly has told me I'll get a black eye if I don't get her up here, so I got to get her up here, guys. We're doing Linda Barrens Interaction Styles and Temperament combined with Cognitive Functions, and that interaction right there just sounds like Shelly. I'm not even going to fucking lie. That little weird interaction right there.
Lend us your view on this questionnaire, sir.
Oh.
I'm telling you, Shelly makes the same damn thing. Watch some of the videos. Look.
On this questionnaire, sir.
Oh, no.
When she starts getting freaked out. But today we're going to type Jodie Foster. Let's see what the monkeys over at Personality Database has her as. They have Jodie Foster as an INTJ. Okay. We have our chart here, and we have our metrics. If she meets the metrics for INTJ, we'll call her INTJ. You know, we don't think too highly of typings by Personality Database. They're usually inaccurate. I'd probably say maybe they're 20% right sometimes. Yeah. So we'll look at her Enneagram as well. But INTJs are direct. They're responding. They're systematic. They're abstract. They're pragmatic. They're progression. They're TEFI and SENI. She meets those metrics. We'll call her INTJ. If she don't, we'll see what she actually really is. Okay, but I ain't gonna lie. She definitely came off like Shelly there. Here's our metrics here. Once we get 5 of them, we will go ahead and start eliminating types. We are still doing free typings by us. All you have to do is join our Facebook group or Discord and message Cody with your availability. We will be changing the rules to get typed by us in the future. We're going to still maintain that they're free, but we may ask that you're part of our group for a set period of time or something, just to make it a little bit harder here. But we're still doing them free, man. Some people charge $100, $200, $500. We're doing it absolutely free. We're giving you an Enneagram. We're giving you all of that. And we do think our MBTI group is, or self-development, MBTI, all of that. We think it's the best on the planet. I don't care what anyone says. It's going to keep growing. It's going to continue to be better and better. But let's get into this. And let me know what you think her type is below. Yeah.
To come here to a room this warm of people 26 years after this film was originally released and get that reception.
Well, this kind of experience, to have a movie that came from such a wonderful book and inspired so many people to do the best work that they'll probably ever do in their whole lives, and then knowing that the film in some ways is timeless and lives on. It's sort of the little pot at the end of the rainbow that you always hope for but that you never get, and then it's actually quite difficult because
progression.
Because you get it. I got it. I was, whatever. I was.
So
20.
progression is all about the journey. There's 2 metrics here: outcome versus progression. Outcome people are looking at an end product. Everything leads to an end product with them. Everything is about the end product. They don't really care too much about the process of things. As in, people who are progression focused, they really care about having the perfect process. And those types that are direct responding, they really care about having it more than anybody else. Like, they have to have the perfect process so much that they forget about the actual outcome sometimes. But like I said, that statement she just said there was a lot of progression.
9 years old or something, and I didn't realize it was kind of gonna never happen again. You don't realize how rare it is. But it is rare, and I feel very blessed.
What's the film about to you? What do you think the film's about? Because it's interesting hearing people tonight who've seen it again and go, actually, I hadn't realised that it's about this or that, but for you?
Well, it's about a lot of things. I can tell you the reason that I lobbied for it, because I did try hard to get this movie. I was not the first choice. was because I had, in my whole life, had been playing a lot of victims. So I'd been playing a lot of women that had been acted upon and things had been done to them. And that is a big part of women's history. It would be remiss to only play characters that are presidents or, you know, doctors. I mean, a large part of our history has been about being acted upon. And for me, the reason that it was so important to make this movie was that there was a sort of healing process and almost like a growing up process to finally playing the woman who saves the women. And that woman who is saving the woman sees a reflection of herself in the women that she's trying to save. And when you think about the mythology that a movie like this comes from, so a very classic mythology of, you know, a prince, his country is suffering from an illness, he is sent off into the woods, and he...
She was getting abstract there, guys. She was getting abstract. Okay, so there's two metrics with that. There's abstract versus concrete. Abstract is all about the what ifs. It's about things outside of the five senses. It's about theories. It's about hypotheses. It's about contextual things, intangibles, while everything concrete is about the tangible reality, experiences. They care more about what is than what if is generally what you want to see here. And she's coming off abstract.
He meets gnomes and demons along the way, and he goes into this forest of experience. He's given the panacea to, you know, bring back finally, endures all these terrible things to bring back finally to his people, having learned all these terrible things about himself, this self-reflection, and realizes that once he's cured his people, that he will never be of his people again. And that is an age-old classic myth. But it's never been reserved for women. So for me, that was the most exciting thing, was to say, you know, we're going to take a classic human myth and ask ourselves, why in the hell has this been only reserved for men? And is there no such thing as female agency? And is there a way to have a female character that can participate in this mythology?
You said you fought for this role.
I did.
What did you do to convince Jonathan?
It wasn't a big fight. I mean,
How did you convince him?
I knew that another actress that he was going to hire another actor. Well, first of all, I read the book and then tracked down the book to buy the book, and to try to produce the movie. And I found that it had already been bought by Orion, and that they had already gotten a writer on. And so I knew everybody at Orion. And I said, I just would like to tell you that I would really like to make this movie. I just won an Oscar. I thought, okay, no, I might have a.
I just won an Oscar. That's TEFI. Achievements.
Shot at this. And
Loving your skills.
And then the director was Gene Hackman, actor who you guys know. He was not going to play Lecter. I think he was going to play Crawford. But he was going to direct the movie. It was going to be his first film as a director. And he read, the first draft came out, and he read it, and he said, this is too violent. I can't possibly make this movie. He dropped out of the film, and I found this out, and I said, okay, well, he dropped out of the movie, but I'm going to be considered for the next director. And the studio said, well, no, the next director is going to be Jonathan Demme, and he's not interested in you. So I was just devastated. I knew that, you know. So I got on a plane after he had offered the movie to somebody else. I got on the plane, I met with him in New York, and I said, I would just like to be your second choice. And these are the reasons why. And I kind of laid out all these reasons why, and then I left and, didn't think anything about it. And then eventually got a call.
Amazing. That's brilliant. Is it right that Sean Connery at one point was going to play Lecter?
I don't remember Sean Connery. No, but it sounds good for your people, doesn't it? No.
It'd been terrible, but I
there were a few other American actors that I think the studio were keen on, of the variety that you might think. Whether it was Al Pacino, Dustin Hoffman, Robert De Niro, that kind of thing. And I think both Jonathan and I were very keen on the idea of having a British actor play it, and specifically Anthony Hopkins, because, Lecter is a manipulator. Lecter has this way of using language in order to seduce and entice and to keep people at bay. And we felt that the American style of kind of Stanislavski acting was really the wrong route. I think you needed, instead of it being, why is this serial killer a serial killer? You're not looking for emotional reasons. I think you wanted to see the monster. I think you really wanted to see that almost Shakespearean monster. So that's
This woman's going abstract. You wanted to see that's NE, SI, but that's more NE. But let's keep going.
Jump the pond.
The relationship and the chemistry between you and Sir Anthony on the screen is unbelievable. It's just incredible. But you never talked during the making of this, and
It was a dumb thing. It was really dumb.
it worked.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't on purpose. We had done a rehearsal in New York City. I'd gotten there early, and I sat down and got my stuff all ready. I got in there early, and then
So keen.
nobody else was there. So I went away and took a phone call, and by the time I got back, everybody was sitting down. So I never had a chance to say hello to him. I just waved hello to him. And we did this rehearsal. We read.
That was progression, and she's referencing other people all the time. That's Tessie. She's
the whole script, and he was petrifying. He was so scary that I couldn't bring myself to talk to him after the rehearsal, so I left. Then he went off and did another movie, and I did the whole first part of Silence of the Lambs without him. He only shot for like 7 days or something, 10 days of shooting, or maybe even less. So I never saw him until halfway through the shoot, and finally he came in, and I didn't get a chance to work with him. They screwed him into that door.
He was locked in there.
He was locked in there. It took like 15 minutes to get him out. There was a whole process with the Makita drill and everything in order to get him out. So they put him behind the glass.
There's a whole process that'd be systematic. She's talking about the system, not the process, really.
I was like, hi. And then, because the scenes were so long, the scenes are like 10 pages long, they're quite long, we would do his side one day, and then his stuff was done, they'd unscrew him, and then they'd do my stuff the next day. And much of the dialogue is to camera. If you notice, there's a lot of stuff that's direct to camera, sort of a Hitchcock technique. So some days, I never even saw him.
All right, this one was direct. Just go and hit her for direct. Okay. That being said, that's 8 types left. 8 types left based off her being direct. It's looking like this one was progression. It's looking like this one is abstract. We're going to be down to the INJs very quickly. We're going to be down to the INJs very quickly. Looking like this one was a damn INTJ 6W5.
Him, and he never even saw me. I would hear a voice behind the camera, and he would hear a voice behind the camera, but we couldn't see each other. So we would look directly in the lens for a lot of our performances without being able to see the other one. I mean, by the time I got to his 10 days, I realized I'd never spoken to the guy, really. And we finally finished. I was eating a tuna fish sandwich. It was the last day of shooting, and I said, I was a little scared of you. And he said, I was scared of you. And then we had a big hug, and that was the end of that.
That I think though is part of why it's so incredible, that performance, and that just the way that you completely get him as well. That's what's so amazing about her as a character.
I guess so. I mean, I think Anthony really is one of the humblest people that I've ever met. But I do agree with him on this one point that he always makes, which is it really was a beautiful script, and it did not take much. In fact, this draft of this screenplay was almost virtually to the word the original first draft. I don't know if you know a lot about making movies in Hollywood, but very often you bring other writers on. There's many
Talking about what you know about TE.
Drafts. This can go on for years and years and years. This one came out of the typewriter and went directly on screen. And that's a testament, I think, to Thomas Harris's novel, and what a good novel that was, that everybody was so inspired by that novel.
What do you think you connected with Clarice, and why you were so, driven to be part of this and bring her to life?
The reasons that I told you, but I also think that there was something about somebody who had been traumatized by sound, in a way. This idea of having been traumatized by being small, and by not being big enough to help or to care for somebody who and having been such a failure. That trauma from that is what she brings to her character. And the performance that I had done before that in The Accused was somebody who's really quite brash and vulgar and talks loud, and there was something I really wanted to explore about the delicacy of somebody who doesn't, who knows that they will never be big enough, and they will never be big enough to accomplish the task that's ahead of them. So they have to engage their most extraordinary talent, which is their heart.
I heard you talk brilliantly about how much you love the camera.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
someone asked you about theatre, and you were like, "No, I'm not that keen." And you were like, "I love working with the camera, and I love what you can do with it." And you know, in terms of with this particular film, you talk about how much you have to play to the camera as opposed to with the other actors and stuff. Is it a big difference for you? Is it you know, in terms of how do you obviously get a lot out of that kind of performance?
Well, I started working when I was 3 years old, and I started doing features when I was 6, and the camera's always been a big part of my life. And I think the part that really seduced me as an actor was how it was made. As a young person, I didn't really understand what acting was. I didn't have a lot of respect for it. I thought it was just saying lines that someone else wrote. But I understood things like focus and how to load a magazine, and you know, I loved all of the technical stuff that goes into making something that eventually becomes seamless. So that was the part that...
Yeah, she's talking about the process there. I'm here for progression.
Really got me interested. And I think that I knew that I wanted to be a director from the time that I was young. And so that was the part that really...
I think I knew I wanted to be a director ever since I was young. NISE.
Really got me. So I love telling stories by using all of the different... It's not just the acting, but all of the different...
I love, that's FI.
vocabularies that are at your fingertips, whether it be sound or props or production design, music. Those things coming together to me is really beautiful.
We were talking out there when we knew people were watching the end of the film, and you were talking about the last sort of section of the film, which was the only part, the last day of shooting, which was...
It was hard.
You're still bitter about it.
I'm a little tired. I'm still tired. It was a 22-hour shoot, and it was a very long shoot. It was a good 5.5 month shoot in the winter, one of the coldest winters that we'd ever had in Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh, if you know, is really it's cold in Pittsburgh. Even the stage where we were shooting in wasn't a real stage. It was a Westinghouse factory that used to house 35,000 people. So it was impossible to keep it warm. It was a very difficult shoot. And at 22 hours, people start making mistakes. And it was supposed to be a regular 12-hour day. In fact, the band for the rap party was sitting there the whole time waiting. And
so see how she keeps referencing other things outside of her own experience? That's all SENI.
Sleep. There was a trailer that we all went to sleep in a trailer. When we did wrap, it was 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, even though we were supposed to wrap the day before. So it was tough. And every time that I'd come through one of those doors, the last shot is me coming through the doors with the gun, kind of bursting through the doors, and then I look around, and there's another door, and I burst through that door, and then there's another door. And it's all in one continuous shot, but you know, everybody was so tired they just kept forgetting to close the doors. So I'd come through the first door and I'd be like, "Oh, the door's open again!" And I have to go back out again. It's awful.
And they were all off to do...
They were off to go to Bimini, which is in the Bahamas, which is a fabulous location I wasn't invited to.
Fabulous location I wasn't invited to. FI.
There is, of course, they only had one sunset shot to do in Bimini, but they had to bring the entire crew, and
But not you.
and load all the cargo bins with cameras and lights and all this kind of stuff. And many of the crew members, lots of the crew members come off of that. You know, Jonathan Demme himself comes down the staircase and puts his arm around a lady and walks down the path. And that's it, just one shot. So everybody's dying to get on the plane to Bimini, and that was why we had to do the 22-hour day, because they didn't want to miss their shot at the plane or something.
You mentioned Jonathan being in that shot. That was quite a regular thing where it would be...
Everyone in the crew was always in every shot. And sometimes
Ted plays an FBI agent, does he not, at one point?
Ted Demme?
Yeah.
He might. Chris Isaac is in there. Oh yeah, Ted Demme is. Yeah, he did come. That's right. Ted Demme's.
This woman's TE name dropping so much. Okay. So we're gonna hit it with TEFI. TFI here. She is obviously knows what she likes. She's aware of how things move around. She's also an SINE user. She's just all about like what other people are doing and their experience and not her own. If you see her stories and whatnot, it's actually going outward and then inward. And like a SI user will be talking about like what they're doing, like what they were going through. So she's an SENI. She knew she wanted to be a director since a young age. So she's very aware of her own future and how to get what she wants. With that being said, that pretty much limits us down to the NTJs here. We're down to the NTJs here. And this woman is progression, so it's going to make her an INTJ. Okay, so she is progression. So she's all about the journey. When she looks at things, she's looking at the process of things and not the end product. Okay, when she's talking about how she loves the camera or whatnot, she was talking about the process of all of it coming together and not just the end product. She didn't highlight like, oh, I just love when the movie's done or something, or I love when we get the accolades and all that other stuff. Her focus is more on the process of things. So this woman is an INTJ. Shelley, that's why you like her so much. Okay, so she's also pragmatic because INTJs are also pragmatic. They're responding, which means they're introverted. They're abstract, which means they care more about the what if instead of the what is. They're systematic, which means they like to implement systems or structures to get control over their lives. They're going to care more about methodologies. That's going to be more in the TRAM anyway, but methodologies, that type of thing. Routines, things like that. So, Enneagram, she's going to be a 6. Shelley's a 6. So, makes sense. 6W5. And I'm going to go SP/XX. So self-preserving, sexual, 6W5, INTJ. Okay. Comment below what you thought her type was going to be. This was a quick one. I mean, I could even tell when the actor also, when the play she played in The Silence of the Lambs, is also an INTJ. That's a brilliant INTJ to INTJ. Use an INTJ to catch an INTJ. But hey, this is Mongolian Mindset, guys, and we are out. You guys have a great day.